Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, stop this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. Everybody in this context refers to us and our cats. You are free to feel however you want about Rand. He's a fictional character. Please don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
I truly do not know how to process the Halsey. Off the debut album, Control by Halsey.
Yeah, that's a great song, and that's a great album. I think it is a weird pull for the Wheel of Time trailer.
Who's in control? Don't you get it? Who's? It's Rand or maybe somebody else. Like Lanfear.
Like Lanfear. I'm sure the song is trying to get at the, like, developing madness quote that Rand is.
Yeah, that's a very, like, spooky song.
Yeah, like Rand is experiences as he begins to delve into his use of the power. But it has a very unfortunate secondary meaning, which is the, like, very grating part that's very difficult early in the books, but is still really difficult of, like, who is in control of Rand. Not only in terms of, like, him and Luce the Wren, but, like, Rand's resistance to being quote-unquote guided. Moiraine, Lanfear, Lan, Cadswan, the Aes Sedai, yada yada yada. And I mean, Moiraine even says in the trailer it's all about guiding him. So that bugs me. Don't use Halsey for that type of nonsense.
It's just never been a very compelling plot point to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially early in the books when, to be frank, it didn't ever really seem like Rand wasn't the one in control of his own destiny. Like, there was a certain element when he was sort of like there was that moment in early book 2 when he wants to leave.
Oh, yeah.
Faldara and can't because the Amerlin Seat or Moiraine or whoever has, like, ordered him into lockdown.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only, like, example of anyone ever exerting, like, explicit control over him. Mm-hmm. At least that I can think of. Otherwise, it's just sort of, like, transparent manipulations that even Rand isn't stupid enough to not see for what they are.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, yeah, it would be annoying if everyone was constantly saying enigmatic things to you in an effort to shape your beliefs and opinions. But it gets to the whole point of the Wheel of Time series, which is, like, we're being told that women have power, but women are never actually shown to have any significant power over men.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Perhaps the show will be better about doing that.
I hope so.
The show has certainly lingered more on the sort of, like, effects of the sort of, like, what happens to men who can channel under Aes Sedai control. Like, the first season had so much more to do with Logain. Like, that subplot was sort of made explicit.
Yeah.
Which I think was, like, a very, like, latent threat to Rand. But was never actually made explicit, because in the book he never goes to Tar Valon.
Yeah.
He's never, like, directly within that sphere of power.
Yeah.
But obviously that's changed in the show, so I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny. I thought,
It's just really unexpected.
yeah.
Halsey. I don't like Rand's haircut this season.
The fact that they gave him a buzz cut, it's sort of the equivalent of, like, a girl goes through a crisis, so she cuts off all her hair into a bob.
Yeah, there's certainly something you said for the human instinct to, like, shave your head when you're really going through it.
Yeah,
you
like,
know?
I get it, but it's like they're trying to make him look, like, harder. You know, scarier with the whole crucifixion posture. They're like, look at this shirtless pose. And I'm just like, besties,
I don't like it. I cannot see a white man with that haircut and not immediately think he is a literal skinhead.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's-
You just sort of veer over into Nazi territory
Yeah.
with that look.
Yeah.
Especially
just,
a dude as, like, pasty white and
Yeah.
Scandinavian as that poor actor.
Yeah, he's got that very, like, facial structure, you know, where you're just like, okay.
And I'm like, hey, listen, I wouldn't mind putting some, you know, unfortunate imagery on Rand later in the series.
Sure.
But unless you're planning for the Amazon series to be 3 seasons long, might be a little early for it.
Yeah.
Which I have no idea what their plan is. I'm not exactly keeping tabs.
Yeah, me either. So I don't like that.
I don't know. I enjoy Rosamund Pike.
Fuck yeah.
I'm a Rosamund Pike enjoyer.
Yeah. I was literally I was watching it and I was like, they did such a good job pulling Rosamund Pike into this. Like,
I know, she's great.
She's a powerhouse. All the actors so far have been really good, especially the older actors.
Yeah, for sure.
The younger ones I have no problem with. It's just like
they're not as good because
they don't have as much experience, you know.
Yeah.
Rosamund Pike went through the whole Gone Girl thing and certainly learned a lot, I'm sure. That was Rosamund Pike, right? I didn't just make that up.
Sorry, yes, it is Rosamund Pike, but I also just, like, went on a wild fantasy of, like, what if they got Timothée Chalamet
To play Matt?
I don't know. I just suddenly went through, like, a vision of, like, what if Timothée... Because we were like, oh, they're not very good actors, and I was going to say, like, yeah, they're no Timothée Chalamet, which is a joke, because I don't like Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a stellar actor, but,
Tillamy Shillamy.
Chalamet. You guys know he's playing Willy Wonka?
Which is wild to me.
Yeah, every day I wake up and think about how
Tillamy Shillamy.
Tillamy Chalamet is playing Willy Wonka in the most straight-laced way possible.
Yeah, listen, we need someone who is more feral and fucked up to play Willy Wonka.
Where is the Gene Wilder sociopathy latent in the Willy Wonka movie?
Yeah, I saw someone say that the guy from The Bear should have been Willy Wonka, Jeremy Allen
He
White.
should have!
Because one, he looks like Gene Wilder.
Yes,
and
chef.
Two, I haven't seen The Bear, but from Shameless, his character is a little unhinged and wild.
His character
in
is
that show.
extremely unhinged in The Bear, in a much healthier way than he is unhinged in Shameless.
So I'm like...
in the, like, greasy line chef way that is hot.
That is hot. Yeah, sorry.
Everyone in America knows there's nothing hotter than a line chef.
Yeah.
Like, they made Will Poulter a line chef in The Bear season 2, and he got hot. I'm not joking.
I've always kind of had a thing for Will Poulter. I don't know. I don't know. I like men with a fucked up little face.
I will say this for Will Poulter. On the, like, spectrum of white men looks, he is at one end, and Timothée Chalamet is at the other, and I far prefer the Will Poulter side of things. Yeah, I mean, agreed, but everyone was like, damn, look at those forearms.
Yeah, I do think Will Poulter, I guess I shouldn't say always, like, I wouldn't, like, really get down for, like, Maze Runner era Will Poulter.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate
in
era.
the last couple of years, I would say he's really sort of grown into his own vibe.
Yeah.
So maybe it was The Bear.
Vibe.
Maybe it was that, and I'm just not keeping track of my timeline of attraction to Will Poulter. Anyway,
so
the Wheel of Time trailer.
So we're like 13 minutes into this podcast. This is Everybody Hates Rand. We talk about the books, not the show, but we had to talk about the show because you're so goddamn hungry for it.
Wheelie 2 trailer drop.
Wheelie 2 trailer drop, and also there's nothing to talk about in these chapters that we haven't said already.
Yeah.
And we just have to make this fast because it's 100 degrees outside, the AC is off, and we'll die.
That's true.
We'll die. So this is EHR, said that already. It's Wheelie Time Podcast. Check. I'm Emily Jushaw.
Check. I'm Sally Goodger, and I'm sorry I called your face weird, Will Poulter.
Do you think he's listening?
Yeah, I do. I think
he's crying.
I think he's a big fan.
That would be such a get. If I was going to have any celebrity listen to our podcast, I think it might be Will Poulter. Will, if you're out there, you should know that my friends have a drink named after you.
Oh, that's nice. It's
like an Arnold Palmer, but different.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this. Anyway, I was gonna say final thoughts on the Wheel of Time True trailer, but I don't have them. I think they're making Sidon a different color than Sidar, which I think is fun.
Color code.
I think
What if it was blue and Sidar was pink, like a baby reveal?
Gender reveal! This is, in fact, a podcast about the Wheel of Time book series. As a reminder, we will not be covering the show on this podcast. If you're interested in that content, if more people start talking about it as the show comes up, we'll direct you to some places. So
There's usually some fun podcasts about it.
Yeah.
I might tweet about it occasionally, but...
Yeah, maybe I'll make my family live tweet their reactions to me again. Okay. In these chapters, boo, hiss, hiss, tomato, tomato, Rand and Tuon meet. Boring.
Yeah, the long hyped confrontation, two powerhouses, we were told, would finally duke it out. And then they meet, and it's like a 2-page conversation, and the only thing that happens is that Rand is like, we have to do this. And Tuon is like, could we talk a little bit about what your terms are? Like, it's a bad chapter when it seems like Tuon is the reasonable one in a conversation.
Maybe I just hate her, but I was like, it's fine for Rand to bully her.
I mean, I am also fine with that.
But no, from like a diplomatic standpoint, Rand is incorrect to just try and like strong arm his way into a treaty. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like Rand comes in there after working, sending 1 million people out to do this. It's like he has made the decision. It becomes clear to rely on brute Taviran force to get his will in this, rather than doing any sort of like work in terms of diplomacy, negotiation, actually forming a treaty.
Yeah.
Which, to be clear for the millionth time, we do not negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
We have no actual interest in there being a negotiation with the Shanshin. But that has been Rand's interest. He has been telling us 1 million times. And now he's apparently going back on that.
Yeah.
And just being like, well, I'll just make them do what I want. And it's like, if you can just make them do what you want, then can you make them not be enslavers?
Yeah.
Can you make them leave? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
And just for a book that is so painfully telling us every thought in Rand's head, this decision has not been talked about at all.
Yeah.
Like, Rand hasn't been like, I just need to meet with the Shanshin because once I meet with them, things will work out.
Yeah, the Taviran-ness will kick in.
Everything will work, like, it will just happen because I need it to. That's how this always works. Like, it would be one thing if Rand had that level of self-awareness at this point in the series. Mm-hmm. We have shown in earlier books that he does have something like that self-awareness. Yeah. Like in book 7 when he's like, everything's turning up Rand, so I'm gonna go solve my problems, and then immediately get stabbed. Yeah. Which, love that.
Yeah, that was a good decision on Robert Jordan's part.
Icarus flew too close to the sun, and Padan Fain stabbed him in the side. So, like, that's one thing, but Rand has not exhibited that self-awareness. And we are limited by it being in Tuon's point of view, their conversation, but that can, like, that's the only thing that can be going on in Rand's head, because otherwise he sounds like a weird robot. Yeah. Not to throw too much shade on Brandon Sanderson, but dialogue is not his strong suit.
Not in this book, at least.
Yeah. Natural sounding dialogue, I would say.
Yeah. So it's just silly. It's really frustrating. I feel like I've been saying that a lot lately. I'm doing the transcript for the last episode, and I've said it like 97 times, so I apologize if that's getting really old. But Rand's decision here very much feels the decision on the part of the authors to have Rand behave in such a way feels like we are forcing what seems like a very natural conclusion, which would be sort of like the treaty that Rand is proposing in order to get us to the last battle. It seems like a way to force us away from that and instead force Rand and the Shanshin into conflict. Mm-hmm. Which is frustrating to me for a couple of reasons, because, like, one, as we've discussed multiple times, we are at the end game. We do not have the space within the next 2 1/3 books for a full-blown conflict between Rand and the Shanshin in order to somehow resolve that and get to the last battle.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I guess technically we do have the page space because these books are so long, but it just feels exhausting at this point to bring a huge full-blown war between two global forces into play. That's so silly. And two, it's frustrating because, like, if Rand was going to go into conflict with the Shanshan, why can't that be Rand's decision as, like, a leader who has a conscience? Like, he stresses very much in this conversation that he is disgusted by their practices around people who can channel, that is not a point he's willing to budge on. Like, there will be no more of that. So it's like, why can't we give Rand the ethical ground or something? You know, it's just like, why did it play out this way?
Yeah, also they were already in conflict. Obviously, not like a full-scale war. There were battles earlier, in book 8 particularly. But, like, from Rand's point of view, nothing about his relationship with the Shanshan has changed after this.
Yeah.
We, the readers, have the foreknowledge that Tuon was holding off on this decision to raid the White Tower, and that after meeting Rand, she goes through with it. Mm-hmm. But that wasn't information that was necessary for us to have. All it did was make Tuon look... It was, like, clearly an attempt to make Tuon look like a reasonable person rather than a tyrant.
Yeah.
Which, if you're the empress of a country that enslaves people, you're never not going to look like a tyrant, which is something that the authors seem to fundamentally not understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, for, like, Rand, it's just like, okay, well, the Shanshan are still at our backs. Nothing has changed. If they advance, we're going to have to fight back. If we advance, they're going to have to fight back, you know?
Yeah, no, you make a good point. What I'm saying about them getting thrown into this war is not like, I wasn't correct in being like, it would happen now.
Yeah.
But it still feels like they're trying to escalate it a little bit.
Yeah.
Within a very short, what I consider a very short section of the narrative, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think what's frustrating to me is that this does feel like a mechanism to escalate things, but for Rand's point of view, nothing escalates. Things do escalate from the Shanshan side.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But, like, in the next book and a half or so, like, Rand isn't going to have any major conflicts with the Shanshan, so...
So what was the fucking point of this, then?
Yeah, exactly. The Shanshan aren't going to come back around for Rand, at least, until book 14, when he is finally ready to, like, make nice with Tuon.
Well, I don't think anyone should ever make nice with Tuon. Tuon, I'm sorry that I'm, like, the number one Tuon hater of the universe. I'm not sorry, but I'm sure it gets old sometimes. There's so much in this chapter about her being like, I haven't become the Empress yet, because that means the Dragon Reborn could not meet me on the same level. Like, everyone makes a huge fucking deal about the fact that their chairs are on the same physical level, and it's like, I know we've said this again, I'm sorry, but, like, the Shanshan's insistence that everybody operates within the same cultural mechanisms as them is wild. Like, if you were like, you have to sit on a chair that is beneath me, Rand would be like, no.
Yeah.
That's
and the fact
dumb.
that they can't be like, they don't have the sort of bandwidth to be like, oh, well, this person is from a different country than me and has different standards of how to behave to world leaders. Like, yeah, it's absolutely bonkers that the entire nation is like this, and I think the effect is supposed to be like, this is a nation of brainwashed cult freaks, you know? But I'm like, that isn't how nations of brainwashed cult freaks work. You know, the people in power are less brainwashed than everyone else. Yeah, like, Tuon would be like, Tuon would be aware of the theater that she is performing. Yeah. You know? But, like, and again, this is not, like, good diplomacy, although it was very iconic for Tuon to be like, we're going to talk about enslaving people, and Rand's like, no. And he keeps interrupting her. He's just like, absolutely not. This is not a point I'll budge on. 1 point for Rand or Thor. And, like, all of her guards are, like, gasping and fainting because he interrupted the Empress twice in a row. And it's like, okay, they're two world leaders meeting on equal footing. Yeah, you guys. It's not, like, it just is, it's a silly way to read. And again, I agree the effect is supposed to be, like, the Shanshan are really strange, and they have a very specific worldview, which is how they justify conquering and enslaving people. And that's effective, I guess, to the degree, but it's like,
Jesus Christ, is it annoying to read about. Not a single Shanshan, except for Aegiana, I guess, and she doesn't even get that far into being like, oh, other people work differently.
Yeah, she's on pretty thin. It's especially frustrating because Tuon herself has spent months in the company of people not of this worldview.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so what was the point of that?
Yeah, did you learn nothing about, like, being among the people of this land?
She brings up Matt at one point, and although the dialogue itself is very stilted and out of character, Nynaeve jumps to Matt's defense, which is both very in character and very sweet.
Yeah.
Probably the one highlight I would say of this chapter. It's nice to see Nynaeve being like, having that sort of sibling relationship with Matt of being like, I will talk absolute shit to you to your face, but behind your back,
I've got you.
I've got you. Ride or die. La Familia.
Yeah.
You know?
And also, like, nobody's allowed to talk shit about you except me.
Yeah, I'll kill you. That's great of Nynaeve.
Yeah. Nynaeve V2 on cage match.
Oh, the other highlight of this chapter is that at one point Nynaeve asks Rand something, and he's just had a little struggle with Luce Thurin, so he responds using the royal we.
Yeah, he's like, we're fine. And she's like, who's
and Nynaeve just is like, okay. Which is supposed to be like, you know, multiple personality things, but just sounds like he's just taken on a Shakespearean royalty affect.
Yeah, so funny.
We're fine.
We're fine. So yeah, there's like a very, I think, funny description. We're in Tuon's perspective when Rand tries to out Tavir in the universe, and she's like, wow, he's so scary.
Yeah, she's like, me?
Yeah.
And then it's supposed to, as we've talked about this before as well, this, like, the big moment is that Tuon manages to say no to him, despite the very physical exertion of his will against her. And that's meant to embody Tuon as, like, a particularly strong-willed person, or if in a world where women were Taviran, which they're not in this world, maybe she's Taviran too.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Again, all that does narratively is force us to an escalation point.
Yeah.
I guess I guess I can see from the author's perspective why it would be incredibly grating to be like, Rand will just solve this problem by walking in and yelling at some people. Of course that shouldn't work.
Yeah.
But I would prefer if it didn't work for a different reason than just like Tuon is the world's manic pixie dream fuck.
Yeah, also is like, I would be fine with this if Rand went in there and behaved like a world leader who is willing to be a diplomat and negotiate and make concessions. I don't want him to do this, obviously. Again, we're not pro-treaty with the Shanshan. But at this point, it's like we talked about extensively last week, Rand is just behaving like a tyrant without any consequences. And Emily made the very good point that, like, there aren't really any consequences for Rand in this instance. Yes, he wanted the Shanshan under control, but like Emily said, like, there's no real escalation for him. He's still got the Shanshan at his back, and that's frustrating, but, like, it's not like suddenly, it's not like they're attacked. Then, of course, it's not like they attack Rand. They attack the White Tower. Mm-hmm. So, again, women are paying the consequences for Rand's actions. Just want to flag that. So, it's just annoying. Like, if he went in there and solved this problem like a big boy, I wouldn't care.
Yeah, except Rand has never done a day's work of diplomacy in his life.
That's a good point.
He has always thrown Aes Sedai at the problems that need to be solved with diplomacy.
Yeah.
Which, for whatever reason, he doesn't seem to think is an option here. And, like, to be fair, I probably wouldn't put the Aes Sedai in danger either.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't just leave them to the Shanshan. That would be incredibly a huge risk.
Yeah.
But, like, then he should have... This would have been an opportunity if Rand was in a better place in the narrative to be like, I will go into this accepting that I don't know everything about negotiations. That is why I will bring advisors.
Yeah.
Get Morana back in the game. That's my bestie.
That's my bestie. Yeah, so I can see, again, narratively, where it's like, we're finally, like, again, it's another Icarus moment for Rand and his Taviran-ness. Like, he's relied on it so much to solve problems. But, like, Emily brought up again, like, he's already had the problem where it's like he relied on it too much and it didn't work. So it's like, Rand never learn a single lesson, I guess.
Nor. He learns them all at once and becomes enlightened at the end of this book.
You're right, and then the slate is wiped clean. He's never done anything wrong. He's the universe's most perfect boy.
He's Jesus. He atoned. Whatever.
He atoned by being sad for a really long time and killing a bunch of people. That's what men are entitled
the way men
to do. That's how men deal with things. The really unfortunate part of this at the end is just like, it's not unexpected, so like calling it unfortunate, I guess, is a little extreme, but Tuon is straight up like, he has to be wiped off the face of the planet. He's way too powerful, way too scary. This is just like further fuel for my fire, my belief that channelers are dangerous and should be killed or enslaved. So that stinks. Just like some extra genocidal flavorings.
Yeah, which is like, it's not on Rand to make Tuon change her mind about channelers as a whole.
Sure.
It's not on any individual, it's not on channelers generally to fix that sort of bias. That's completely on Tuon. But like what the point was, I think, in doing this from Tuon's point of view was to defamiliarize us from Rand and be like, for the 19th time in this book alone, be like, look how scary he is from the outside.
Yeah.
When you're not just wallowing in his sad little brain. And it's like, again, you're sort of just overstating the point here. And also, you really can't do that from Tuon's point of view when Tuon is patently also extremely evil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's one thing when Nynaeve is like, ooh, Rand is scary.
Yeah.
When Tuon's like, oh my god, Rand is so scary. It's like, okay, bitch.
Okay, of course you
get
think
scared
that.
then, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, like, good. The one person I support Rand intimidating is Tuon.
Yeah, a known terrorist.
Yeah, a known... So, the whole scene, disappointing. 0 stars. Well, maybe 1 star for the no slavery. And also, Matt is the best person you'll ever meet. Don't be mean to him.
Then Tuon's like, okay, I'm the Empress now, and let's attack the White Tower. And the next little scene we cut to is of her sending off the people to do this raid. Again, it's going to be an airborne raid. We get the information that besides just, like, normal soldiers and Demani and Soldam on these flying beasts, they're also specifically sending in 5 blood knives, which sounds like a 13-year-old boy's D&D character class, which are just highly specialized assassins who have special ring terangrial to make them super fast and strong.
Yeah, it's also just like peak Empire hypocrisy to be like, no channeling at all except for the weapons.
Yeah, except for the ones we get to use. Meanwhile, Matt finally talks to Varen. Varen has an extremely long-winded talk to Matt. She's like, here's what happened. I was trying to go to a place, and the world kept conspiring against me, and eventually I accepted fate, and here I am, looking for you or Perrin, because I figured Ta'Veren was pulling on me. Matt's like, cool story. Varen's like, so if you want to get to Camelin, I'll take you there for a price. And he's like, hate that. You know me. I hate having to pay any sort of price. I'm a cheap bastard.
Yeah.
And she's like, for my services, I am going to warn you that you need to be careful because the Dark Friends are looking for you. Notably, Varen says, I just happened to get this from the Dark Friend, information web.
Yeah, that was so funny when she's like, someone gave this to me thinking I was a Dark Friend, mistaking me for a Dark
fine,
Friend.
I won't. I think she says thinking I was a Dark Friend, which would allow her to not be lying, you know? They thought correctly that I was a Dark Friend, but she can lie.
Yeah. So.
Just a funny thing. But she's like, first of all, watch your back, because they're out to get ya. And it's big bad news. And Matt's like, okay. She's like, second of all, here's this letter. I want you to open it in 10 days and do what it says. And he's like, I hate that. I hate having an invisible condition.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Matt doesn't really have a great trust relationship with other people in power generally. He has no idea what Varen's going to ask of him. But we also know that Matt is highly committed to keeping his word, so if he promises to do it, then
He'll do it.
he'll do it, no matter how bad it is. So Varen finally talks him into being like, either you open it in 10 days, or you just wait in Camelin 30 days without opening it. Now, Varen's whole reasoning here is that what she hopes is that she will go take care of business elsewhere, then come back to Matt, relieve him of this burden, and have solved whatever problem she's going to ask Matt to solve on her own.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that the next time we see Varen, she has already committed suicide. As in, given herself a slow-acting poison in order to have one last conversation with Egg. So it is unclear how exactly Varen expected to get out of that.
Sure.
Like, what her alternate game plan was. It is also just unclear, as usual, why she isn't straightforward with Matt. Spoiler, what this letter says basically is, I am expecting there to be an attack on Camelin via the Waygates. Please defend Camelin. Why can't she just be like, hey, you know that Dark Friend underground I was just telling you about? I've also heard there's going to be an attack on Camelin. Please
Defend Camelin.
defend it. You know, Matt takes her seriously about watching his own back. Like, when we catch up with him in the next book, he is very rigorously trying to protect himself from that. That's also because the Golem is after him, but...
Your boyfriend's back!
Hey, bestie! But, like, he's not a total idiot. If Varen was like, I think that there's... Or she could have just been like, could you close the fucking Waygate?
Yeah.
It's an insanely convoluted plot.
Yeah,
Is
why
what
not
I'm
just tell
saying
him
that
to close
just
the Waygate?
doesn't make sense. And it's all setting it up for this sort of dramatic irony of Matt never opening the letter because, of course, he would never open the letter. And so then Camelin gets attacked and no one knows.
Yeah.
And it's just not very satisfying to read, you guys.
So he doesn't end up opening the letter?
He never opens the letter. And to his credit, he does leave the Band of the Red Hand in Camelin to defend Camelin, unbeknownst to him. So it's not like Camelin is completely undefended, but obviously he would have behaved differently if he opened the letter. So, like, sorry to spoil the next couple books for you guys, but it's like, we have to talk about the sort of logistics of this in order to be like, this is such a convoluted plot, the payoff isn't good, character-wise, it doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, also, like, do we need to attack Camelin?
Yeah, can Camelin catch a fucking break?
Yeah,
Why does it
like,
always have to be Camelin?
I don't want to be in that city anymore. That city has had 19,000 words of plot.
I know, so many.
Probably more than that. So that's all very silly. I don't understand what the point of any of that is. And if we're talking about dialogue, that reads pretty weird. Varen reads like a puppet being controlled by a ventriloquist in this chapter.
So does Matt.
Yeah. Well, that's all very silly and stupid. I wish it was something more exciting. Like,
yeah, like, it would have been so cool if it was something neat. I don't know what it would have been, but something neat.
Yeah, it also would have been exciting if Matt just, like, opened the letter. I get that Matt's like, I don't want to be controlled anymore. But, like, I, who has, like, very minimal trickster points, would be like, I have to know what's in that letter. I'm going to absolutely go insane. So it also doesn't make a ton of sense to me that Matt wouldn't be like, I at least have to read it.
Yeah, Matt, like, the entire next book, Matt is like, I want to know what's in the letter!
Yeah.
And doesn't open it. And I think it's meant to be like, look, character growth, because he's not, I don't know, controlled by his curiosity or whatever, but it's like, it's meant to be a perfect portrayal of dramatic irony.
Sure.
You know, Matt is experiencing unexpected, from Varen's point of view, character growth, which prevents him from doing this plot-relevant thing.
Sure.
So a good thing for Matt ends up being a bad thing for other people.
Sure.
That's what it's meant to portray. But that sort of irony is, we've talked about this before, the Wheel of Time over-relies on dramatic irony to the point that it is no longer satisfying.
Yeah.
Dramatic irony, like every other narrative tool, needs to be used in moderation and with intention.
Yeah, does he stay in Camelin for the 30 days?
He must... I'm sorry, I can't recall. I know that he is actively in the Tower of Genji when it gets attacked.
When it gets attacked. So it's just like, I don't know if again, we can hash this point out when I know for sure if he stays for the full 30 days, but it is also, like, much more of a character point for Matt to be, like, committed to his word and to do the things he promises to do than for, like, any of the curiosity shit. You know, that's kind of like sprinkles on top.
Yeah, I think he must stay the 30 days, but it's clear from, like, Varen starts negotiating at 50 days that she just doesn't know when this will happen. I think it's supposed to be, like, Varen is gambling that Matt will just open this letter.
Sure.
But it's just wild, because Varen has plenty of time to get her sort of, like, last will and testament in order. She has a very long conversation with Egg. Mm-hmm. She leaves a bunch of papers for Egg. She's also got all of these other letters as, like, fail-safes. And so it's just sort of, like, wild that this isn't communicated to anyone else.
Yeah, you nailed it on the head again this episode. This over-reliance on dramatic irony is, like, exhausting, and it's a real detriment to the narrative at this point. Not only because we've used it so much, but it's like, again, we are at the end of the series. This is the time for things to be being revealed to us, not being hidden from us. This is the time for us to, like, wrap things up, really dive in. Everyone is having the hard conversations.
Yeah, I also think it's meant to represent Varen as our classic manipulative Aes Sedai figure. She's just unwilling to just tell people straightforwardly what is going on, and so she resorts to sort of this intricate and totally unwieldy system of letters and things like that to sort of cover her ass, which is frustrating. I won't say it's out of character for Varen, because Varen has very much operated in the shadows as a manipulative figure. Sure. She is, in many ways, our sort of most Aes Sedai-ish Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
So I guess what's frustrating is that she doesn't get any character growth.
Yeah, and, like...
And also, you know, it's just another way for Robert Jordan to dunk on women and be like, how stupid.
Yeah, and that's what feels frustrating. Like, it... You're right, Varen is totally one of our, like, spider figures in the shadows, spinning webs. But so far, everything has made pretty logical sense, what she's doing.
Yeah, I think she's one of the best Aes Sedai because she's doing all this shit, but also she is likable despite all of that.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, she's doing things for logical reasons.
Yeah.
To her, at least.
Yeah, like, they always make sense, and, so, this feels silly, but I guess it is in line with the women are shit thesis of this series, so.
So anyway, we gotta go turn on the AC or whatever.
Yeah, that's the end of that.
That's the end. Bummer. Bummerooski, eh?
Bummer is right.
Okay, next chapter, there's some war crimes.
Nice.
And we will start the sort of climactic sequence of this book, which mostly takes place in the White Tower. So it'll be Rand-centric and Egg-centric.
Okay, that's tracks for this book. So we're done with Matt for this book?
I believe we are done with Matt. I believe we are done with Perrin. I believe for the rest of this book, the only narratives we will be following are Rand's and Egg's. Okay, well... I guess I have no choice but to accept. I have no choice. Yeah, we signed on.
We did. This was informed consent, so here we are.
Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for giving us a week off.
Yeah.
We might be taking a little more time off in the future, but like a couple months from now, but nothing to worry about in the next few weeks. Just we have a lot going on in terms of moving apartments and a couple little weekend trips.
Yeah.
But that is on the horizon. So until then, thanks for listening. Thank you, Glenna McKenzie, for our theme song. Thanks to our patrons on Patreon and our followers on social media.
Yeah, I've been doing some, like, auditing of our Patreon, for lack of a better word, to see outstanding rewards that we haven't given to people yet. And I just wanted to say a massive thank you to anyone and everyone who currently supports us or has supported us in the past. There's a lot of you that have given some financial support to EHR, and it really matters. Obviously, we're not a big enough podcast to get, like, sponsors or anything, so that's really the only money we get for this labor that
Endeavor.
we do. So thank you so much. And it's just very kind to know that you like it enough to send some love our way. So thank you.
Yeah. Do you have a sign off?
Yeah. Also, of course, another massive thank you to our patrons who have basically been keeping Ed's vet bills afloat over the past couple of months. Ed, if you don't know, is one of our cats who has been experiencing some health problems. He had to get a procedure done earlier this week where they had to place a little IV on him. That's what I'm assuming all this is.
Yeah, he was getting biopsies, and so
Yeah.
he had to go under anesthesia for a bit.
And I'm assuming it is in order to place the IV, they had to shave a little section of his leg.
But they did it all the way around. I think so they could, like, wrap a little
bandage around him without, getting stuck in the fur. So, like, he's got, like, maybe an inch at most of his left front leg just totally shaved.
Just naked.
But it's, like, he still has his, like, paw fur
Yeah.
up to a bit, and then it's naked, and then it's the rest of his leg. And it looks like he's wearing a boot. It's so funny. It also has his stomach still shaved because he had to get a ultrasound. So he's just like...
Ed cut a really incredible figure when we brought him home. He was so drugged. He couldn't walk in a straight line. And was just sort of, like, prancing everywhere. Like, super bouncy in a weird way.
Yeah.
And then had the indignity of being shaved in certain parts of his body. So he is really going through it.
I know.
Don't worry, he's still a very happy guy.
He's always just been such a happy little guy, but oh my goodness, does he look silly at the moment.
Oh, love that little Ed.
I know, he's the cutest.
Okay, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.